Hello, good morning, everybody. Here we are for another episode of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ian, and disembodied brain, Justin, or John, or both. They might be conjoined at this point. Perhaps they're sharing a brain. Yes, thank God it's Friday, right? Right? Exactly. Let's see. How are you all today? Yeah, Fly Day. I know, right? It's like totally thank all the gods and etc. that it is Friday. That in fact time does progress and we do eventually hit a weekend. Hello, Nomadzic. It's Friday with the happy husky faces. Yes, trouble. I'm okay. Like I think my energy will kick in a little bit. I was very sluggish this morning. Beer. Yeah, beer maybe later for me. Maybe later. We'll see. I don't remember. Oh yeah, I'm making duck today. I'm making duck breasts. Now I have to like think about how I want to do that. Nap, yeah, this afternoon, maybe. Hello, I went splat. And Carrie Michael. It's good to see you all. Hey, I noticed a bunch of people getting on my Patreon yesterday. Just hold tight. I will send you all welcome emails in probably just actually after the stream. Secret info. There's no secrets here. It's just stuff that other patrons don't talk about because they either don't know it or they haven't like micro dissected their process like I have because I'm just that anal. Whoop. Oh, yay! New apartment! Yay! Oh my gosh, movers and packing though. Oh, all the sympathies. You have all the sympathies, Carly. Like, I remember. And technically it wasn't like it shouldn't have been that bad when I packed and moved out here, but I just, yeah. It reminded me why I've pared down my stuff and why I should continue to pare down my stuff. Yeah. Shrimp on the Barbie technique? Yeah. Good morning, Daffodweir. Yes. Now we're into it. Now I have to like keep going until I hit 19. Like I have to somehow convince Ed and Dave not to fire me for 2 years so I can hit 20. 20-year work anniversary. Then we have a party. Then I'm not going to be happy with just a few gift codes. Then it has to be a big party. So let's see. What am I doing today? I don't know. I'm all over the place. Hey guys, I stuck the head on the halfling. Look, I stuck the head on my halfling. She's got a head now, and she's like glued. So it's cool. And now I have to fill out the freehand. The freehand, which normally I would have done before I glued it on, but I was just sick of staring at her without a head. So I don't know. My movers, I had a good experience with my movers. I can't remember. Who did I use? Crap. I can't remember, but I actually had a really good experience with them. I mean, it was right during the, like, April was the heights of COVID really spiking last year, and they did a really good job, and they were good at social distancing and respecting everything, and everything arrived intact, and nothing was broken, and nothing was screwed up. And yes, it was expensive, but I went with the expensive option because I wanted it fully insured and all that stuff. Plus, I was moving 1,600 miles. It wasn't just across town. Painting, dancing, and freehand for 21. Well, first I have to stay employed for 2 more years. We'll see after that, Wolf Priest. Maybe we'll plan the 21 anniversary. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, you know, I mean, read the reviews, right? Do your best. Oh, new floors. Exciting, Otter Mama. Yeah, that's a big... But you know what? Just think of it, Otter Mama, think of it as an opportunity to like organize and pare down your stuff. Like what I was doing before I moved was I was sorting through all my miniatures and kind of like listening to whether do I really want to paint this someday or as my enthusiasm for it passed. And if it did, I gave it to friends or, you know, I sold it for a small amount of money or I did whatever, depending on if it was valuable or not. But yeah, look at it that way. Like sort all your collection and make room for new minis. Because I have a limited amount of room. So I definitely have to make room for new minis. What is the closest Reaper paint to the Prussian blue pigment? That would be Ritterlich 9115. That's why I created Ritterlich Crows and Bones. 9115 Ritterlich blue. I love, yeah. Well, and it's Prussian blue, essentially. It's as close as I could get. Oh yeah, it's in production. Yeah. Ritterlick isn't out of production. In fact, more people should buy Ritterlick. So please, please buy a couple bottles. Now you all know that it's my equivalent for Prussian blue. So, grab it. Do it. Do the thing. In fact, I will use Prussian blue today to highlight her hair just to prove to you all. That's awesome. But first, I want to kind of put some peachiness in her skin tones, because it's not quite as peachy as I wanted. So I think I'm going to use this, but I'm actually going to add a tiny drop of rosy skin to it. Because the time that this skin tone really comes together is if you can get that hint of pink in the highlights, which is hard to do with such a pale color as this. It's easier on a bust because you have more room. And so you can remember how I was talking on the Sphinx yesterday about how pale colors, it's really hard to get them to show their color at all if you're applying them in small areas, just because their color is so pale that they just tend to read as a pale color. And so the key is to make them bigger if you want to bring out subtlety like that. And her face is big, but it's not as big as a bust face. She's got green, and so I want that pearl. I want green and pink. I want to highlight my green with pink to get that pearly look. Oh, cool. Oh yeah, Ritterlick. Hold on, I'll get it. You guys can see. I think I was actually playing with it yesterday. Where are you, Ritterlick Blue? You're around. That's cyan. I'm just like, my blues are getting crowded in here. I really have to pare them down. There's Ritterlick. So Ritterlick is halfway between, in a more broad sense, it's halfway between Nightmare Black and Void Blue. And it's got pretty good coverage. So if you like Void Blue, but you wish it had a little more coverage, you could take your Ritterlick and add just a tad of white. But yeah, good luck with the move outer, Mama, for sure. Well, Crows and Bones, tell them that the person who created MSP, tell them that that was my intent with Ritterlick. Now, actually, yeah, we've got a Prussian blue around here somewhere. But I wanted it needed to be vibrant and not too washed out, so this is the closest. I won't claim it's an exact match for some brands, because even across, Prussian blue varies across brands, just like Burnt Umber does. So the exact color, it may not match, but it is very close. It is what I used when I'm looking for Prussian blue. Yeah, you need that frame, right, to see about the skin changing color and like, and oil for my initial highlight. Oh, yay. But why the initial highlight? Because you'll have to use oils from then on up, Wolf Priest. Like, you can put oils over acrylics, but like your oil has to be your final application, hypothetically. Acrylics are not supposed to work. Acrylics tend to spring off of oils because solvent. You may be able to use a spray to mitigate that, a spray lacquer or spray sealer, to go over your oil that might make enough of a substrate for acrylics to cling to. But once you start with oils, you finish with oils in general. That's the general art rule. Because there are people who do mixed media, but they start with acrylics and then they finish with oils. Yeah, and with how you like Nightmare Black, you really have to pick up Ritterlick Blue, Val. Glitter on your monitor. Have vampires been watching your monitor, Valandar? Alright, so anyway, yes, Ritterlick Blue. You want it. Trust me. Trust me on this. Let me see here. Put my Void Blue back. It is not playing a key role today. Although I think Void is going to start being a very commonly used color in my palette soon. Now that I've realized that it's the color of like blue sky shadows, now I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to use this to shade everything. Ooh. Hey, guys. I got my Limbo Kickstarter yesterday. Hold on. I'm going to be all over the place today because my brain and Friday. Let me show you Wolfie. I showed some of you Wolfie, but I put Wolfie together last night. I didn't put his rider together yet, or her rider together yet. I think it's a female wolf, actually, just looking at it. Or maybe they just chose not to sculpt the naughty bits. That does happen. Not everybody is Jason Weeby. So Wolfie, this is Ilva's mount from the Limbo Kickstarter, is gigantic. See Wolfie? Wolfie could eat Monique's head with one chomp. Yes. See Wolfie? It's honestly the best direwolf sculpt I think I've seen. It's got a nice little snarl on it. Yeah, this is going to be, well, it's, okay, so this is the deal, guys. I have to finish Halfling before I start Wolfie. And I'm really looking forward. I was gonna do like this thing, okay? Normally I would put a bunch of my models in front of me and I would make them fight for my love until the one that most spoke to me at the time, like, emerged victorious, and then I would paint it. But yesterday Wolfie pretty much walked out of the box and said, so it's me. It's me. Just don't even bother getting all those other models out. It's me. So yeah, Wolfie. Scritches. Yes, it's a floof, right? It's a floof. It's a giant floof. So I have to decide on colors for Wolfie, because I've been very actually unthrilled with the paint jobs that I've seen on the wolf for this. Like, I don't know. I guess, yeah, it's huge. Well, it's a 75mm dire wolf, so it's meant to be monstrous. And then the rider almost looks small. Yeah, exactly. Great wolf, right, Wolf Priest? Well, that was from the Limbo Kickstarter that they ran. And I love it. I love it. I love it. So yes, I have to finish the halfling first, though. That is my deal with myself. It's like 2 models going at a time. I might expand that to 3, but I think I'm going to be happier if I keep it at 2. Because that way it's like I either work on one or the other, and I'll just choose which one I want to work on based on. I know, I'm squirreling too, Trouble. I'm squirreling too. And I put all my other Limbo models away so that I wouldn't sit here and just show you guys my Limbo models. Other than Ylva, most of the ones I got were from the past Kickstarter that I missed out on. Like, I thought they were only 28s, and I didn't see that there was a pledge level for 75mm versions of them, and so I just didn't buy into the Kickstarter 3 years ago or whatever it was. But yeah. Yeah, it is as big as some puppies. Toy breed puppies, for sure. All right, let's see here. Squirrel, we have to stop squirreling. I have to get my brushes out and decide what to paint on this thing. Shall I break in my other, my old Raphael is getting a little bit worn down. I should probably try to work with it. Oh, that's a Da Vinci. There we go. All my brushes are like sitting here going blarg all over the place. Alrighty. Oh, and I'm excited about my new wet palette. I think I showed you guys that yesterday. On my personal stream, because with the Limbo Kickstarter, they had a deal on a wet palette with a white sponge instead of the yellow that I normally use. And my old wet palette had lost its lid long ago, so it's really just a tray with a sponge in it at this point. So I bought one of the, I sprung for one of the Limbo ones on their Kickstarter. So I'm very excited. So I can do a little more wet palette and without, like, totally distorting colors on the stream. Because wet palette works pretty well for my stream. 4 Da Vinci Kaliskis for your birthday, Grey Wolf. That's really cool. You scored. Yeah, welcome to the Enabler Club. Especially, especially if you're on my Patreon, if you get on the Discord, because the Supplies Talk channel is really just the enablement channel. It's just disguised. Everybody alerts us to all of the best Kickstarters and pre-sales, so we can, we don't miss out, right? That's the good thing. I always used to miss out on these things, because I'm not real hooked into the, like, a lot of the, like, European companies. I'm not, like, really hooked into that community very, very largely, and so I would miss sales for limited edition pieces. It would drive me nuts. But now I'm a lot more plugged in, so... And my Discord keeps me more plugged in. Muted for a reason? Oh, it's not a voice channel. Yeah, my Discord is patrons only, but the Reaper Discord is also, you know, is public. So that's why I only have time to, like, ride herd on one Discord. But yeah, I started my Discord for my patrons, because previous to that, I could just use the Reaper Discord. So, you know, it made more sense to split out and get a patron thing. Most of my, it's muted automatically because I chose it to be a text-only channel. There are a couple of voice channels for gaming and stuff, but on my Discord, it's generally... It's going to be a text only is going to be auto muted. That's just the way the Discord settings work. So I'm going to start with putting 2 drops of rosy skin down. I'm going to put 2 drops of pale flesh down. I might have to add a little bit of white. Oh, yes. If you keep paying attention, I see what you mean, Shadow Raven. Yes, it will cost you money because, oh, so many cool things. Yes. All right, so we're going to try a 50-50. Now, the key to this is I want more rosiness, but it still needs to be lighter than the green I was using. And I may need to mix up my green because The minute I don't, I'm gonna obliterate part of it and need to remix it anyway. Ah, no, not orc skin. Orc skin has been masquerading in my troll place. In my box. Wolf Priest, Patreon, my Patreon has a $2 level, so you could actually join my Patreon for $2 a month. And if you joined for a year, you could get a 10% or 20% discount off of that. I forget which discount I put on it. But yes, I made my Patreon really, really affordable. Because I wanted poor people, like college students, to be able to afford it. People who had a lot of other expenses, I still wanted them to be able to get in on it. Because, I mean, I do this because I want to teach, right? So there is a lot of valuable content on my $2 level. Donut. You've got your donut. Okay, good. So I'm remixing my my green skin tone, which is, it's usually pale olive, 9036. But I think my pale olive is buried over in my my box O paint. So I'm just adding white to troll flesh, which pretty much approximates it because troll flesh is a very yellowy olive itself. And when you pale it up, it gets close enough, pretty much. I could use some linen white if I wanted to. If I want to take it a little more yellow. But I essentially need, and I'll get my rainy gray out because that's my base coat. Remember, we used Draw Nipple Pink to shade this because it's a good bruisey color for undead. So that's the purple in her skin. I'll get closer in a second. I just want to make sure I've got all my colors mixed up appropriately. Yeah, I do. I do Grey Wolf. And you know, some Patreon people, some other miniatures artists have, like, yelled at me for that. Like, they've essentially said, don't give anything away for free. But I don't know. I don't believe in that, really. I think it gives people, one, they get to judge whether they like my teaching style and, you know, think they want to invest. And I totally get that. And I'm cool with that. I mean, I actually don't like Patreons where I can't kind of look at how the person teaches first, right? Or what kind of content I can get. Like, I really like it when they put up a sample. I think Miniatures Monthly does put up a sample of some of their content. Or some other ones do too. Rainy Gray, there we go. So Rainy Gray was our base here. But yeah, I do like putting up stuff for free every once in a while. In the spirit of just instructing. And actually, a bunch of people now have told me that I need to do like just a 5-minute tips just for basic stuff on YouTube. And yeah, I kind of see that. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's just a lot of, it's extra time to film and edit. I'm going to put a little bit more linen white into that green, which is becoming a very large puddle of green at this point. I should have kept an eye on that. But I need my green to be lighter than my gray and my skin tone to be lighter than my green. That's the key here, because we're highlighting one with the other. We need to make sure that there's a bit of difference between them. Let me get this. Yeah, the miniatures community at large is pretty much a set of enablers. Look at this! But now you guys, I have the Muses Kickstarter, the Limbo Kickstarter, and the Arthurian Echoes of Camelot Kickstarter. I have so many minis that are so nice. I cannot buy anything else. Okay, I did order one other thing the other day, but that was before the third Kickstarter came. Now I've been awakened to the fact that I have a problem, so I'm gonna take some of this green and take a little bit out of this well. When you need to bring something up even further, but you know that you've already got a very full well of paint, it's nice sometimes to just transfer a bunch of it out to your other well, and then you can drop another drop of linen white in here with impunity. And not worry that you're going to overfill your well. Because there's definitely such a thing as like where I feel I have too much paint in my well. Like I need to have enough space to kind of see how it falls off the sides and kind of judge its consistency. April needs more minis. No. Although Declearman, I did buy that Knoll bust. I think some other people were mentioning the Knoll bust, the White Werewolf Tavern Knoll bust. She was pretty, so I bought her. But that's about it. And knowing Etsy, it seems like anytime I order a miniature from Etsy, even if it's in stock, it takes them forever to print it and clean it and mail it to me. So I'm secure in the fact that the Etsy mini will not arrive for a good long time. All right, let's get this thing in focus. Let's get this out of frame for a second. Get down in focus. Yeah, and then I'm not even counting the Reaper stuff, right? Which is now moving right along now that containers have come in. So, all right, I want to just make sure. Okay, I'm going to need to thin that green down even more. Because there's a lot of white in it. And I need to get it really, really thin. And it's probably not even as thin as I need it. And I want to get some of this thin gray to kind of get a nice transition here. Her face is pretty round. All right, now let's see if we can get this pink layered in. Yeah, Etsy is forever. That's why I'm like, I'm secure in my, like, another new miniature. Yet another new miniature will not arrive instantly. It will take its sweet time. It will be like Gandalf. It will arrive exactly when it means to. And in the meantime, I can stop panicking about all of my new miniatures. So mostly, you definitely want a highest highlight up here where the light hits the forehead. All of our foreheads bulge out a bit. And they tend to catch the light. They tend to be one of the most highest areas on the model. And the other thing about foreheads is that they tend to be warmer. Because you have a lot of blood flow through here and you have a lot of cool shadows down here. So your forehead tends to be the warmest color. And in this case, the warmest color is definitely this skin tone. Because everything else, even though the olive is warm, this is warmer. Because it's orangier. So that's our spectrum that we've got going on now. I still feel like my olive needs a little bit more thinning, but maybe I won't need it. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, Rebecca. I've already decided against it. For one thing, too much work, lazy. I would never use it. Like, we'd get it. It'd be like airbrushes. We'd get it. We'd set it up. I'd never use it. Maybe David would use it. Maybe it would become his new little thing that he was really into. But, I would be like, where's my instant miniature? I just want to open a box. Because, like, then the printer itself becomes your new hobby. And so I just don't want to do that. I've so much, my time is at such a premium already, guys, that if I added a resin printer, you'd just never get any content. Like, I'd have to quit my Reaper job just to, like, find time to play with the resin printer. So yeah, I'm not going to go there. I am good enough with ordering minis. I will simply become the person who orders from all those great shops like Nerd House that have sprung up to print minis for people. Like, those people are making, like, a career choice, and I'll support them. That's cool. They're probably better at cleaning, like, supports off of their minis than I am anyway. Right. Yeah, Crows. I'm with you. Yeah, Sarducci. Yeah, uh-huh. Yep. Exactly. Now you want a resin printer too? Make them paint some of it. Like, that's where I am right now. I'm like, all right. I've ordered so many beautiful models. I love them all. And now it's time to get stuck in and paint. So I can see this in person. It's harder to see it on camera. Let me see. Can I get a backdrop that allows you to see it? It's just not showing the pink very well. This can be a subtle shift to show on camera, so this does not totally surprise me. Maybe if I cover it up. There you can kind of see it. If I cover up her black hair, you can see the warmer shift on the forehead and on the cheekbone. So it's much more apparent in person, and it definitely picks up the pink now. So I need to balance it now. Make sure that I don't lose my green. I'm going to accentuate her brows a bit. and get that line down the nose. Yeah. Yeah, Fubeka. Yeah, I'm making 2021 my year to finish crap. Like, and for me, you know, since I'm spending at least 30 hours per model, that means factoring in a lot of weekend, giving up a lot of weekend time to paint, you know, like not getting stuck into doing other things and spending more time. Yeah. Yeah, I'm liking that. That's very rainbowy. In person, it's very opalescent. I'm going to get that green in a little bit more here. Just need to thin. My green is just... Because I loaded so much white into my green, it needs so much thinning to be transparent. Yeah, Reaper Challenge League. Don't forget, this is the favorite, the purple, pink, orange challenge, right? Except I realized, guys, I'm already doing that. Like, I'm doing purple, pink, orange already, and that took out some of my my oomph to do it. Yeah, I realized I already had a model I was painting purple, pink, and orange. It's terrible. Oh yeah, stop playing video games to spend more time to redevelop my painting skills. That is fantastic. Yeah, I still will play some WoW because David really enjoys it when I play WoW with him. And it's one of the things that we just do together. So I'm not going to totally give up my computer games, but I'm not going to just, you know, sit a lot on the weekend and just do that. I want to spend more time painting. So on the weekend and in the evenings. So I'm introducing more green. I'll try to get a photo of this and put it up because I feel like a lot of the subtlety is lost. I don't know if you'll be able to see the pinky highlights on the, if I take a photo, but maybe. I'm happy. It just gives you a little bit of a different twist. There. Blasphemy. Oh yeah, purge most of your D&D pre-paints, yep. Alright, I think her face is pretty good. Let's do hair. Let's go Ritterlich. And as I bring the hair up, that will also change the look of the face. And as I start to paint all the rest of this, that will also change the look of the face. So I'm going to just use 1-ish drops of Ritterlich. And grab my pure white. And I need to get my black. Oh yeah, Carrie. Yeah, I've still got my original Dungeons and Doggies, so I didn't buy in on the other one because I haven't had time to put paint on my Dungeons and Doggies. So when you put white in Ritterlich blue, it does make a gorgeous and slightly different medium dark blue. So that's a 2-to-1. And it's actually a bit darker than that. Let me get giant black base so that we can see. It's actually a bit darker than it looks on the camera. Everything's looking a little bit light today. But it's a very pretty blue. But I do need to get some black, which is around here somewhere, because her hair is pure black. Yeah. Right. Well, and it is close, right? But that's why we have to start blocking in the rest of the model so that you guys can see. Yeah, it almost looks like Desert Sky. It probably covers a little better. Let's get some black out here so that I can do touch-ups. drop some water into it because black covers really well even after you thin it. I'm going to make Ritter Lick just a little. Well, you know what? I'm going to go for that. I'm just going to do the blue. Desert Sky is a bit more saturated and a little less grayed out. But yeah, the face right now, because my base Rainy Gray is very close to the color of the plastic, it is definitely... Oh, hey, and I forgot to do the boobs again. Even though I outlined them. What is wrong with me? Like I said, squirrel. It's definitely a squirrel day for Anne. And you've got a lot of this area in shadow, so a lot of that area back under her neck will stay in shadow, which means I probably need my Drown Nipple Pink, which is our shadow color. Yeah, I kind of passed on the kitties because they looked like they were going to be so small. All right, there we go. Drown Nipple Pink. But yeah, the Dungeon Doggies are great. The models are very full of character. Okay, shadow color. So shadow color up under the neck for sure, way in the back. Because the head is so big and overhangs so much. And then we can do a shadow between. Yeah, the cats are tiny. Yeah, I'd love them. I just wouldn't love painting them. Like these days, if I'm looking at... I don't buy miniatures just because I love the miniature anymore. I buy them because I would love to paint them. So that's why I kind of sat it out, even though the kitties are adorable. So I love to look at them and I love their characters, but I was, the small size put me off. Because I like to paint big. That's why I have Painting Big as my rebrand. My name. Because I really do like to paint bigger stuff. The Giant Direwolf is definitely more my speed. Oh, weird Twisted Oma. That's too bad. I always hate, as somebody who, works for a company that does Kickstarters, I always hate to hear about other companies, like, not getting back to people on their Kickstarters. Like, that's half the thing, is you have to provide good customer service, in my opinion. Most of the miniatures companies I've worked with have been really prompt about getting back and really responsive. 1-to-1 scale. That's too big for me. That's way too big. Too much texture, Shadow Raven. The Soldier 76 was enough. And notice I have not done another Overwatch statue yet. Although Tracer is prepped. One of these days, I'll pull Tracer out and start painting her. But all of these new Kickstarters have distracted me sufficiently. I should block in some of this NMM and see if it changes the look of the face again. Because, swirl! Yeah, so small. Yeah, Dark Sword has really been doing good. They've got Andy doing dog breeds, which is what I told Ron he should do ages ago, but he never got around to it. So, Dark Sword has jumped on it now. Let's see here. If I put down this really warm gold base, how does everything change? Because it's always fun to see how it changes. Because you always, when you add a new color up against another color, everything changes. Oh, and I mentioned my Patreon earlier, and I didn't give you guys a link, which is patreon.com/paintingbig. I've got a lot of awesome stuff planned for May, so I'm working hard on all of my stuff. Stuff for sale, a brand new Sky, Earth, and a Mem tutorial, and classes. Which means I have to get off my butt and actually figure out how I'm going to do those classes. I'm going to have to do them on Zoom or YouTube or something gated. Alrighty. So now we're adding in that warmth, and it's changing the look of things again. We're going to go red with red and gold for the armor. Classic Monique. Like the paint job. This is pretty much the paint job that I did on the 54mm Monique. Same difference. Same sort of scheme. What I consider the classic Monique color scheme, because, you know. There we go. We'll line a bit too, but not quite yet. But as you add those more colors in, everything shifts. Hey there, Bob and Julie. How's it going? Oh yeah, the Allie tribute model with the fairy with the kitties, with the winged kitties. Yep. Yeah, sorry, Gergie. I'm floating around. Whenever I get this close to a model, it's easy to get out of frame just with a lean in the wrong direction. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water to my base paint here. This is a very pretty palette so far. So let me back up. This is our pretty palette so far. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting palette. Let's get some brown and black in the frame so that we can see it. So what is this? What kind of color scheme is this? Now, I haven't added my red yet, and that does make a difference. But the interesting thing right now is that if you just looked at this from skin tones, you would think it's a green, orange, purple color scheme. But then once I add the red in there and the gold colors, suddenly you see it's a red, yellow, blue scheme. So it's like sneaky. Sneaky paint scheme. So her skin is a green, orange, purple all by itself, and the miniature at large becomes a red, yellow, blue because her hair will have blue highlights and her armor will be red and gold. So it's a sneaky paint color scheme. I just noticed that and I was amused. Yep, yellow, blue, red. That's what she will be. Not quite yet, but we'll get there. Let's see here. She's going to... All those armor plates are going to be... And I didn't do her little fingers. If I wanted to do those skin colored, I need to do them skin colored now while I have all my stuff. So sure, why not? I think I gave her skin and not gloves when I painted her originally, so... But yeah, my original skin color is very close to the Bones Gray. The rainy gray. So when you put it on, you hardly see it. We're just going to bounce back and forth on this today because I have squirrel tendencies. Squirrel. Also, since this is a chibi, we can totally use pure black for lining because cartoony. So get this hand. But yeah, I'm a totally squirrel Ann today. I'm just like, wee. Oh, wait. Julie's here. We got to show her my Limbo wolf. Julie, I got from Limbo Miniatures. I got my Kickstarter. And there's a huge 75mm dire wolf. And it's a really good sculpt. So I'm totally going to grab Wolfie and show him to you. Where are you, Wolfie? I put Wolfie back in the box. And Wolfie is fighting now. Here, I'll just grab Wolfie without the base. It's a fantastic wolf. It's got a rider, but who cares? All we really care about is the awesome wolf. And I love the face. Like, the face is fantastic. So, lovely, lovely wolf. This is done in 3D, and it really has good fur for 3D. So, he's fantastic. I love this wolf. Rawr. And I can't wait to start it. But yeah. Because I know you appreciate a good wolf sculpt, Julie, I had to show you. So that's the whole reason I subbed for that Kickstarter. So I was just like, I took one look at the wolf, and I'm like, all right, tell me when that Kickstarter starts, because I'm in. And then I ended up getting like 5 or 6 other things. So they took my money. They definitely took my money. She's a female, kind of almost a Nordic-looking barbarian. She does have kind of the fur and leather battle bikini kind of thing going on, but I'm all right with that. I think she's supposed to be an avatar of a winter goddess. I don't remember, but she's pretty cool. Actually, her spear. Let me see if I've got. Hold on. The box. I should have just not hidden the box. And the wolf also comes on a gigantic rocky base. Of course. But the spear is fantastic that she's got. It's lovely. It's a lovely sculpt. Oh, I have a huge collection of miniatures, so the spear is really, really cool. I love the really long blade. It's neat. But yeah, so she's got arm wraps. Let me get her out. She has a big cape. She's got a ponytail. So she's like here. She's cool. So yeah, like, you know, Nordic don't care about the cold battle bikini type thing, but I'm into that. Why on earth would she dress properly for climate if she's immune to cold, Crawley? If I was immune to cold, you better bet I would, like, totally freak people out by, like, you know, I wouldn't wear a battle bikini because that's just not me, but, you know. I'm okay. It doesn't bother me. And I think this locks in. Yeah, it does. So her cape goes off to this side. So that'll take some green work for that joint. But that's not bad. But yeah, she's a nice sculpt, but I bought it for the wolf. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest. But she definitely has more of a Viking shield. Although it's pretty generic. Yeah, great abs, right? I do like women with abs. I cannot lie. I would say I really like the models in this, and they're equal opportunity, Julie. They did actually also produce a male model, a male witch hunter model with excellent abs. So at least it's not just the women. And actually most of their women are more clothed. Yeah, right? She's just Canadian. She's not like, you know, it's nothing special. She's just Canadian. She goes and jumps into Lake Michigan in December or January, whenever the Polar Bear Club does that stuff. I don't remember. Crazy people. I always thought they were nuts. I'm going to line around the hand here just to separate it out. From the rest of everything. Sometimes on these chibis, I feel like this is like what I have to do. Like, I feel like doing a bit of lining to really separate out all the parts of the model is Limbo. Limbo, Derek. They just fulfilled the Kickstarter on this one. So if you actually look for Limbo Miniatures Kickstarters, you'll find the Saga of Noandin, I think, is the one that I just got. And that wolf piece was one of the new ones for that. And they just have some lovely pieces. I do feel like as far as standout 75 millimeter, that Echoes of Camelot from Big Child does beat them as far as just the high level of detail and elegance of the sculpts. But I feel like both of these are very strong contenders. David didn't like the Limbo stuff as much as I did. He preferred the Camelot stuff. And I can see his point, but there are just some sculpts that Limbo did for these Kickstarters that I just adore. I have the Demon Hunter who's on top of the demon head, and I've got the female priest because, well, let's face it, I play one on WoW. Female priests are my go-to. And then I had, who else did I get? I got Henrik, which is the Demon Hunter with the abs. Really, it doesn't matter what else he's got. He's got abs. And who else did I get? Man, I got a lot, guys. I got a lot. I got, one of their big ones, Odun, the really big kind of like almost Nordic giant looking guy. He's cool. Really like him. Can't wait to get stuck in on that. So there's an awful lot of these models that I just can't wait to start. So what I have done is I have, down just a real quick digression back to what we're actually talking about. You can see how I tried to get that shield strap there, but I actually wasn't able to get most of it. And this area behind the shield, see how in shadow that is? I'm just going to block it in black. Like, I would probably make the back of the shield mostly black as it is. So this is an easy choice for me. It'll make the arm stand out more. It'll make the shield strap stand out more. I may need to turn it to another angle to get really behind the strap solidly. But it's in shadow back here too. See it? I've just blocked in all that area. But then I don't keep seeing it. I don't have to worry about it. I won't be able to reach it to get any detail done on it anyway, so it just makes sense to block it in. And that way it kind of disappears, and I am not seeing it anymore, so I don't need to worry about it anymore. Just want to make sure I've got that part of that arm. And it is a-okay to do this. There's always going to be areas where you just can't reach. And just put a shadow there. Even Canadians think most of those people are nuts. Well, I believe that the lady in the battle bikini in the winter is nuts? No, she's divine, so she can do whatever. She's Elsa. She's Elsa from Frozen. And actually, to be fair, some of the concept painters who have painted the model for the box art or art online have painted it more like it's in a meadow, more like it's a summer scene where the wolf is in a grassland and stuff, and more beige colors and brown colors. So, you don't have to make her, even though she screams winter to me, you don't have to go that direction. I don't know. I'm thinking pretty hard about the basing on this one and what I want to do. I've got some excellent snow effects stuff.
I've seen people skiing in bikinis.
You've seen people skiing in bikinis? David can speak to this. California is pretty crazy. So therefore my Limbo Wolf Woman is not all that out there. Maybe she's Californian instead of Canadian. Oh, hey, I bet it's stretch time because my back was just like, hey, it's stretch time. Oh, I don't do primer, Board Game Heaven.
What?
I don't, on Bones. Yes, this is Bones plastic, and I never prime them. I always just wash them, and the paint sticks fine. As you can see, I'm sitting here painting the surface, and it's sticking just fine. So, yeah, I just don't prime it. I've had bad experiences with primers on Bones, because and I've had friends use various spray primers and have reactions. So since the paint adheres just fine, I see no reason to ever prime my Bones. So I'm in that camp. Yeah. All right, let me do my stretches, guys, because back's a little twingy today. Probably because I painted so long. I did a really long stream yesterday. Oh, and you can all stare at my Overwatch League shirt because it's starting in like 2 weeks. And I'm super psyched. Oh, my back, yeah. It just crackled. So if you are with me and if you have been hanging out and just sitting in one position for more than an hour, please get up and stretch. Yep, that's kind of what started the whole Bones thing, Board Game Heaven. I don't know if you knew that, but when I was at Reaper, properly at Reaper, Ed originally got Bones produced because he wanted to have paint and take minis that were super cheap. And then when we got them, we kind of tested them, and we found that paint actually stuck to this particular PVC really well. And that just opened up everything, right? Then Ed was like, hey, maybe we could market this. And then the first Bones Kickstarter was born. So this was actually intentional, and one of the drivers of Reaper going big into Bones was the fact that you didn't have to prime them and you could paint them right out of the blister. It made it very easy to donate models for paint and takes at cons because the people didn't have to prep them. You could just wash them and put them out, and they were fine. And some people that you sometimes don't even need to wash them, to be fair. You can prime if you want, Wolf Priest. I'm just saying I don't. So when people come into the stream and freak out that I'm not priming, that's why. It doesn't need it. All right, I'm going to do my on the floor stretches, peeps, and then we'll come back up, hydrate, and we will resume our Monique.
You're not going to paint the entire Monique before you do her eyes, are you?
Absolutely. Now that you've brought it up, David. If you hadn't brought it up, I probably would have painted her eyes, but now I have to taunt you.
Those eyes are so big.
I know they're
so
huge.
White.
Well, I kind of haven't decided what color I want to make them, because I've never had to paint Monique with colored eyes before. Because but on the chibi, I have so much room to do the iris, I have to.
I vote red.
Yeah, red is what I was leaning toward. But her armor's going to be red, so it might be too much.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No, I think it would help, though. Because otherwise her armor's going to steal too much focus from her face.
Yep.
Even though she's a chibi.
Yeah, it's hard for anything to steal focus from the chibi face. But it happens. Almost done, guys. Just one more stretch. I'm getting better at my yoga every week. I didn't make David do yoga in the middle of the week this week, but he's going to do it Sunday. I've let him off the hook. Alrighty. Yep, stretching. Sorry. I'm here. Paint them all black and taunt David. Yeah, I do stretches, Wolf Priest. Every stream, I have to... It's because my back went out a while ago, a couple of months ago now, and it got really bad, so I had to do stretches. Lately, I'm doing like yoga and strength training in the morning, and so it's mostly fantastic now, but every once in a while, it'll still like... It'll kind of twinge or it'll act up a bit, probably because I did so much streaming yesterday. When I do a ton of streaming and then I did painting last night, the back can get a little irritated, even though it's much stronger. Yeah. Yep, Twisted almost correct. That's why I wash them. I just wash them with a bit of dish soap. Hydrate, everybody. Get your drinky thing. Hydrate. Water is really important for basic biological functions. Go for it. Or whatever drinky thing you have. I know that many of you don't drink water that much. I do. Alrighty, let's get these little hands outlined so I don't forget them. It's so easy to forget them if I don't draw my attention to them. So we'll just Gesundheit, David. Little thumb. Coffee does, although it's also a diuretic, HM Road Dog. So as long as you are also, like, as long as you're not just drinking coffee. Just always remember that when you've got caffeine in there, you usually have to drink a little bit more. Hydration got very important to me after my surgeries, so I realized I was really seriously underhydrating. And I have remedied that. Alrighty, got our little hands outlined. Fantastic. You balance it with beer. Also a diuretic. I can't speak much, though, because I used to do the same thing. I've just cut back on all my other beverages. Although I did have a coffee yesterday. I had a skinny vanilla latte because I adulted and I felt like I needed a reward. Isn't it sad? Like when you live you live a very immature life when you adult once and you're just like, I need a reward. Yeah, I used to do TTT all. Oh, actually, I did about half and half. I can't take the caffeine anymore, so. But I still do. I do tea in the morning. I used to do tea all day. I do love my tea. Now that it's getting warmer out, I should get the cold brewer out and do some cold brew batches just to have iced tea on hand. It's just so convenient. Yeah, we get to reward ourselves for all the stuff we do, right? Instead of just getting punished for not doing it. Yeah, Shadow Raven, I'm with you on that. As long as you keep water next to you, you just reach for it, right? Yeah, I just do the cold brew, HM. I've got like a cold brewer and, can take it and put it on the counter and start it the night before and then empty it out into the carafe the next morning, and then I just put the carafe in the fridge and then I have iced tea for a couple days. It's very convenient, and it doesn't require sunshine. Yeah, we don't have a very big sunny spot. Consistently sunny spot in our apartment. But the cold brew does really work very well. And it doesn't seem to overbrew, which is so cool. Oh, water everywhere, yeah. Brush got rinsed in the wines and bacon. Oh no! That's terrible. And if you're painting with red, you might not even notice. Oh, interesting. If there's a straw? How odd, Quindy. I wonder if that's left over from your childhood. Like, that's an interesting one. I never thought about that. Like, a straw is kind of a deterrent to me. And ice is a deterrent. Like, I love my drinks with tons of ice in them, but I drink slower when I have it. So when I'm hydrating earlier in the day, I actually don't put ice in my water because I want to make sure I hit my water quota. Alrighty. As we continue, David's going to have to deal with her zombie eyes for a little bit longer, I think, because I'm working on everything else. Just getting these little shoulder pads blocked in so that we have some of our gold here figured out. There. Nice gold base on both sides. Barley tea. Yeah, but if that has barley in it, I can't do it because barley is glutinous. And I am a gluten-free Ann since 2013, with some small digressions. But I try to keep them very small. Hey, new encode, thank you for that reprime. 17 months. That's impressive. Considering you have to remember to renew that prime, that's really impressive. I want a gold edge on this shield. Or probably it's a brass edge, but we'll just paint it goldish. Because that's my old color scheme. Huh. That's funny, Quindy. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me it was at Reaper, we had bottled water available all the time, and that was an easy way for me to measure how much water I was drinking per day. So I just got in the habit of slamming those suckers, and I think that's why if I want to actually like drink water faster, I have to not put ice in it and just have it I put it in my Yeti cup so it stays cold. So maybe that's where I get my habit. I like to kind of figure out where my silly habits come from. It's intriguing to me. Because sometimes they really are silly and I just want to get rid of it. Hey, Shadow Spawn, long time. There's a very small difference. It's because they wanted a black metallic and we had a black metallic. I think the Pathfinder adamantium is slightly lighter, and it also doesn't have like one thing that the adamantium black has from Reaper, the regular Reaper, the 9124, is it has a bit of blue in it. And I believe with the Pathfinder adamantium, you don't have that blue. But they use very similar flakes, and I think the adamantium for Pathfinder is a little bit lighter. But don't quote me on that. I'd have to have direct comparisons, but I know it doesn't have the blue in it. They're very similar colors, though. You can be assured that there is always a difference with me. I will never ask you to pay, at least the stuff that I developed, I will never ask you to pay twice for the same paint with a different name. And in general, that's just, I think, good business decision on Reaper's part. But with licensed paints, where I have to do, like, some duplicate colors, and I have no choice, some of the differences may be very small. Because there are only so many ways you can make white. Yeah, I like the water filter too. I've got a filter in the fridge. Interesting, Valandar. Yeah, maybe she just doesn't like the taste of the water where she is, or just doesn't like water. It's interesting. People. All of us people and our weirdnesses. We have so many weirdnesses. Makes us unique. We all have to have to figure out how to work around our crap. That's what it comes down to. Alrighty. Got some of that gold trim in there. Let's see. Those are red. I think I'll leave the hips. Oh, that's a bag. There's not a lot of extra gold trim down below. She's going to have a lot less, because she's so small, there isn't like a lot of the gold trim that's present on the large model isn't on this one. Yeah, no problem, Shadow Spawn. Oh, good, Miss Jana. I'm glad. I made them, so I created the Reaper paint line and used to mix every batch by hand for 15 years. That's what I did for Reaper. And then I moved out here, and now I stream for Reaper. Yesterday was my 18-year anniversary of working for Reaper. So, welcome. And if you have questions about the paint, I can probably answer them. It's a very different paint, Jaina. I'm just going to take off a little bit of this mold line here that I missed. But I made it to be a bit more of less thick and goopy out the gate, because I didn't want people to have to work with the paint forever to get it to the consistency they needed for things like washes and glazes and layering. So Reaper is a bit more fluid, and it's more like an artist paint in that the coverage of any given color is more dependent on the pigment it is made with. So we're not using a thick goopy base for coverage across the board. For me, coverage is useful in a couple of applications with miniature painting, but it's also can make it harder to, reach other goals with mini painting. Like, there are other techniques that very much prefer thinner or more transparent paint. So I wanted a paint line. There's so many paint lines out there that just work thick and assume that, they just want that base coat. But then you have to work with them so much, and they don't thin as well for like layering and glazing. So Master Series is meant to be that weird paint line that is very different from the others. Because I wanted something that adhered also, that stuck to the model, and Master Series is very good at that. It's not easy to rub off. And that actually goes hand in hand with the transparency. It's the resin that is used in the bases is what determines that sort of thing. So paints that have better coverage have worse adhesion. because of the nature of the resin. I learned just enough paint chemistry to make me dangerous when I was designing these. Oh, you might actually mix them. I use the Scale 75 tube because I really like the artist, Jaina. But I find that mixing the two is a really nice, they synergize well. So, like, you could use your scale color mixed with a bit of Master Series for base coats, and then as you needed to go with more thin paint applications, you could swap to some of the Master Series darks, or, you know, use our pure white to build highlights, stuff like that. It depends also on what you do. If you use thicker paint and you wet blend a lot, then you may end up liking the scale a little bit better than Master Series, just because, you know, every paint is different, every person is different, every artist is different. So do try it. I do recommend our pure white. I always say it's the best white on the planet, bar none. It's a very heavily pigmented white, but it layers, it thins extremely well. Better than any other white I've ever tried from any other company. So I always recommend people try our white, they try our black, and they try, you know, maybe some of our skin colors, like rosy skin's a nice one, and tan skin. And then, yeah, just pick a couple colors and just try them out. See if you like the paint. See if you can work with it. See how it works with your style. Jason Weeby's birthday, really? But yeah, Master Series, you'll notice, is more fluid out of the bottle than Scale. And most other miniatures paints today. A lot of companies have gone with the heavier body for a faster base coat. But then I find that when I want to thin those paints, they fight me more. And I don't get quite as smooth with them when I'm aiming for smooth. And part of that could just be that at this point, I'm so used to MSP. When you create your own paint line, you kind of get used to it. But other people like it too, so it can't just be me. It's not just my creator bias. Sorry, I'm just like, I realized I had these annoying mold line and now I am fighting it. I'm trying to do it without carving off her toe. There, that's much better. It's a little bit ragged still. I'll deal with it later. There's always that moment where you run across the mold line you should have gotten before and didn't. What was that, Big Apple? The liners and the phthalos? Oh yeah, but how do they taste? Jeez, Wolf Priest, no. Don't go there. No flavor added. It doesn't end those discussions, because, again, everybody... I never shame anybody about what they do. If they want to prime their bones, prime your bones. If you find a primer that works, go for it. Who cares? It's no skin off me. I'm going to do things the way I want to, no matter what you do. Just ask my dad. He has been eternally chagrined at the fact that I will find my own path and be quite proud of it, no matter what everybody else says. So, I am not threatened by your reliance on primer. I just refuse to use it. I'm cool with it. Do what you need to paint a lovely miniature and enjoy the process, people. That is where it's at. And don't get in those silly internet arguments. Who cares what other people do? Do what works for you. All that matters is that you are having fun with the hobby. I do find it interesting that people, like, this is the new white versus black primer argument or something. I think that Zenith, like, killed the white versus black argument, because then you could have both. But, you know, people in hobbies will always, when you love something, you will get opinionated about it, right? And that's, like, what I've learned, not just from painting, but from my dogs also. Because, you know, people get really into their dogs and they love their dogs, and it's just like, you know, loving the miniatures hobby. It's like you get very strong opinions about it. And then people get all up in each other's grill over it because they have such strong opinions. But it's like, Hey, everybody loves the hobby. As long as everybody's having fun and nobody's getting hurt, we're all good. All right, doing a little bit of lining here just to set off these areas. There we are. So the skin is again changing now that it's got that warm gold up. Once I put red in here, that's going to change again. Yeah, the airbrush. Oh, you just laugh every time you read a thread where someone primed the mini and it is tacky. Yeah, I feel bad for them because, you know, that can ruin your enthusiasm for a model. We always tell people to test it, right? And to test the primer, make sure, use it on a model you don't care that much about. But people don't listen and, you know, then they have to deal with it. I still feel bad for them. There we go, getting that in. This is a large brush. It is a very brutalized version of the Raphael 8408 size 1. So the big fat one here is the brand new version of the brush. And then hold on, let me get my everybody. So you can see how my used version is thinning down and kind of shortening a bit. I'm losing that super fine tip there, but I can still do a lot of paint work, useful paint work with it. As my brushes wear, this is how they tend to go. They tend to thin, but I can still keep that great point. But yeah, so this is a Raphael size 1, and the series is 8408. If you like a thicker brush, more full, and with this not as much with this extreme taper toward the tip, then the 8404 instead of the 8408 is your baby. But I really like a long, thin taper on my brushes because I work a lot with very thin paint, and that works better for me that way. I don't have to unload the brush as much. So if you work with really thin paint applications, then the 8408 is your baby. If you work with thicker paint and tend to work on larger models especially, then the 8404 is what you're looking for. If you wet palette, the 8404 is better. If you well palette, the 8408 is generally better. And this is all general. I mean, this is just my experience. So Vallejo, the differences, Tirjan, and I was just talking about other brands, but Vallejo invested in a heavy-bodied base because they wanted coverage. What this means is that Vallejo will give you coverage, but when you go to thin it for thin paint applications, it will fall out of solution and just generally require you to remix it every time you look at it. I ran into this yesterday because I had a Vallejo actually on my palette that I was working with because I actually liked the SS Camo Black Brown back in the day, and I had a bottle, so I was like, you know what? Let's work with this again. And I got frustrated with it because when I thinned it, to the point where I'd thinned like my green here or my gray, it was just like it fell extremely out of solution. Like the top was all just white. Like, and the reason for that is that the coverage, the resin in this paint that gives it a higher coverage is also very heavy. And so when you add water to it, it literally sinks. And so all your paint falls out of solution and you have to remix it every time you want to reload your brush. So the other thing about the heavier resin is that it's not as durable. So especially when you thin Vallejo a lot, it tends to rub off easier. Now you can get around that just by working, you know, on a handle and sealing your model, which is what I used to do. I used to use Vallejo all the time before I made Master Series. Like this was the main paint in America back in the early 2000s when I was getting better at painting. So those are the advantages and disadvantages. Vallejo is a very high coverage paint. It's going to give you, like if you're wet blending, it can be very good to start out with because it's going to give you that nice solid coat all at once. But when it comes to thin paint applications, you're going to like Master Series better. I always recommend people use maybe kind of a mix and experiment with both and see what suits your painting style better. I thin my paint all the time for everything. And so for me, now Vallejo is frustrating. But if you work with thicker paint on a wet palette, Vallejo can be very good for you. So I recommend choosing both and just working with both. So if you're very familiar with Vallejo, pick up a few Reapers, like maybe pick up the Reaper starter set, which is 11 colors and gives you the pure white, the pure black, a basic good selection of decent hues across the lines, and try it. Work with them. Just keep in mind they're going to be a little more fluid, but when you thin them, they're not going to fall apart. Priming metal. Yeah, the Bones USA plastic does seem to be very nice. I can't wait to start my new one. Yeah, no problem. Oh, the other difference, Tirjan, is that Reaper paint has flow improver already added to it. So you don't have to add additives. It actually thins best with just water. Whereas I found I had to doctor my Vallejo a little bit more, especially if I was doing thin paint applications. I needed to add more things to them to make them work a little bit better for me. But again, it's going to depend on your painting style because, it's... they're very different in the way the paint body is and how it acts. They're very, very different. I would say they're diametrically opposed in today's market. The only thing thicker is like GW base coat colors, which is the same problem. It's a heavy resin. Yay, glass of water. Good, HM. I'm glad. Yeah, there is a fine line between primed and sticky. I think you're right there, Inara. I think that if you do a light coat of primer, you're more likely to have success. And that a lot of people who maybe run into the problem with sticky primer maybe coated it like really solid. That could very well be a thing. That would not surprise me. All right, what are we doing here? Oh yeah, we were going to do the hair right at the beginning, and then I got distracted and squirreled. I might have Shadow Swan. I always do repeat myself on these streams, and I like to believe it has value because sometimes you'll remember something I say, and sometimes you won't. And so, and we always have new people on this show, so I do not mind repeating myself ad infinitum. That way y'all don't have to take notes. Eventually I'll come back around to the same topic. So I'm going to reinforce the black along her part because that's usually where you don't see. So on me, if my hair was parted there in the light, you'd see a shadow. My hair is not, since it's parted way over on the side, it's not a great example. She's not as dramatically parted. But if we look at my hair, let's see here. Parts there. Yeah, you can see the dark. So you usually will see a highlight more where the hair is kind of springing up, catching the light. In fact, you can see it right there. You can see that I've got there's a highlight falling right there, and you can see there's a highlight falling right there. That's not just paint. Bye, Wolf Priest. Have fun. Probably because I was at Reaper, Shadow Spawn. Now Ed would have to, reach across, 1,600 miles to, go, grr, don't talk about other paint lines. Or maybe I didn't want to cuss if there were children present. Yeah, there we go. Inspiring story from Julie. Thank you. Yeah, don't give up. There's a lot that humans have overcome. There are some crazy brave people out there fighting huge disabilities to do the stuff they love. So, take inspiration from them. All right, so we're going to start out with a little bit of blue here and there. And if it gets a little too blue, then I can always bring my black back in and break it up a little bit. Make sure I've got some strands going on here. Yeah, she's got pretty nice hair, actually. I mean, you can see the multi-strands in our... Although I don't mind helmet hair because it lets me kind of create my own pattern, but it does get a little bit old after a while. You just get really into... You start getting really into models with really well sculpted hair. Like my Templar that I'm working on, the Sky Earth Templar bust. She has some of the most beautifully sculpted hair that I've yet seen on a model. Like, just freaking gorgeous hair. Like, it's sculpted so beautifully. Like, it's just so gorgeous. It's really well done. Even down to the little tiny braid. And all the details are there so you can paint them. And there's just enough strands back here for you to, like, do stuff. I mean, her ponytail is the most smooth part of her, but she just has lovely, lovely hair. So you just, you get an appreciation after a lot of 3D sculpted hair, especially, tends to be a little bit simple. Well, in some companies, like, I mean, that bust, that's meant to be painted to a high standard, right? Whereas a gaming figure isn't necessarily, like, it's more like, hey, this is for a game. So you are going to notice the level of detail varies depending on the intended purpose of the figure. It tends to be simplified on gaming models because they don't want you to have to spend a ton of time. Now, one thing when you are dealing with a part like this, even if it's a little off-center, you're going to get the halo effect. So the highest highlight is going to be in a halo around the top of the head. And if you just go out in the real world and you kind of look at people with hair like this, like straight hair, you're gonna see that effect with it when there's a nice overhead light source. So keep that in mind, and I start with that. I'm going to start with my highest highlight. And this color is not my highest highlight, but I want to lay down my blue first, and then I'll slowly lighten it as I get toward the center section on each of these strands. Yeah, exactly, Inara. I get it. So yeah, intended purpose is definitely... I did spend a long time on the hair on that Templar model, and it's not even done yet. But I enjoyed every second of it because it was so well sculpted that it was enjoyable to paint. So... gonna break that up. So whenever I get a big glob of blue or I feel like I've lost some of my strands, I just bring some black in and kind of break up the strands. I can do that also with my next highlights. But in general here, you're not trying necessarily to hit every strand perfectly. You're just trying to keep your brush stroke in line with where the strands are running so that, you know, it looks more or less right. So we start out with that shiny. You can almost see the shiny starting up. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. Although my hair is, since I have a part way over on the side, it's a little bit different. But you can totally see kind of the halo thing. But it's just the way that the light tends to react. So my highlight's a little shorter on this side than it is over here because this is stretching across the top of her head, just like my hair. Has a wider highlight on that side. And then you've got more of the part, the darkness here. And then since we have only a little bit of the hair actually pointed upward at the sky here, we have a shorter highlight. We don't have as long of a highlight as we do on that side. So we're going to take some of this lovely blue and switch it over and add even more white to it. Hair is shiny, so it should always go up to white or near white. It's okay to go to near white. You don't have to go to pure white. Although on blonde hair or lighter gray hair, you must go to pure white, I think. Unless your gray hair is meant to be very dull, which sometimes gray hair gets a coarse texture, so... But sometimes you get, like, silver... You know, like my gray hairs are pretty silvery. So I would definitely highlight them up to white. Yeah, I've lost, gosh, let's see, that was 2011? I've lost at least 60 pounds since then, Shadow Spawn. Ketogenic diet for the win. And now I'm losing again on a new program. It's more of a lifestyle, habit-changing program. Yeah, Ritterlick. War Shadow. I need more water in that. when you're doing hair highlights, and if you don't want them to be super bold, although on Chibi I certainly could go super bold, but if I want a more naturalistic, thinner stroke, I need to thin down my highlight color quite a bit to do thinner lines. Yeah, I lost a crap ton of weight in there between 2016 and 2019, I want to say. Took me about 2 years to lose the 60 on keto. All right, so now we're gonna make our, see, that's a very bold highlight, but that's all right. I can always glaze. I can choose to make a stronger, bolder strand highlight if I want to, and just glaze with the black if I want to knock it down. These are going to be much shorter strands. Now, when I'm starting to do the higher highlight, my highlight's going to be shorter. I'm not going to take it all the way out like I did with that blue. I want it to be more focused toward where the light would shine in that halo. So toward the middle. And my color is that. So it's a very sky blue. And then from there, I will do a final highlight in white with just a tiny bit of that blue mixed in. But yeah, Ritterlich is a lovely, lovely color. A lot of the darks make just beautiful, complex hues when you thin them with white or mix them with white. A lot of the other thing that does is tell you exactly what colors you're dealing with. Should do a PDF on that. Maybe I'll do it this month. Figuring out. People always ask, well, how do we find out what pigments are in the paints? And it's like, well, you can do some simple tests. So maybe I'll just do a PDF on how to do that. Because Reaper can't tell you. It won't tell you because we don't give out formula information. But if you are savvy, you can just figure it out on your own, and that's perfectly cool. So that's making that come up a bit. It might be a little bit too much on this side. Yeah, blue liner plus white. This is more blue than blue liner, so doesn't have the heavy gray tone that blue liner has. Ritterlich is a very heavy blue base, so yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep doing this, and I'll take this down with a glaze if I want to. Need to keep the majority of the hair black still. Remember that. So I will come back in with my black if I have to, if I go too far. And it's very common to go too far with this stage of highlighting. You get all into it and you're just like, yay. And then you like stop and then you're like, no, it looks like she has blue hair. Boo. But it's easy to go too far on this one. It's hard to keep your highlights little when you're having so much fun. Because I think highlighting like well sculpted hair is pretty fun. Personally, it's up there in my my fun. Almost as much fun as painting rocks. It's another thing that Anne really loves to do. Because I'm weird. Remember, we were just saying earlier that we are all weird. We all have our weirdnesses. So keeping these strokes very short. Not a lot of room here. So you can see the shortness of those because we have a lot less room on this side of the head. We have a lot more room on this side of the head. All right, we'll do one more highlight and that'll be about right to call. I've done it in the past, Benny. What do we have right now? We'll be starting Lizette probably next week because she'll take over from Dancing Girl, and I'll be doing her skin. But I mean, we have done it in the past. If you actually look up, I don't know, did I do that one on stream? I might have done it off stream. But like Ms. Duelist, we did skin tones on. I assume you mean human skin tones, Benny. Because I also did flesh highlights on this lady as far as where to place your highlights. But if you're looking for specific colors, then that's different. Because, I mean, flesh highlighting is the same as any highlighting, really, except that you're making it a bit smoother usually, unless you've got a really rough skin tone. But you're highlighting tactics are the same whether you're highlighting a green-skinned orc or a gray-faced vampire or whatever. Like, the placement of your highlights are pretty much the same across any humanoid face. So, but that said, I'll be starting an Elf Sorceress 4 days. We've got Living Statue Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Should be Thursday. But in general, with skin tones, it's, if you're not wet blending, it's all about thinning your paint. Thinning your paint and understanding where highlights go on a face. Just getting some very, very pale blue highlights set up for her hair. And there are more places on her hair that we'll highlight. I just wanted to do the top of the head today. Ah. What was the problem, Benny? Like, specifically what happened? What technique were you using? Might be a bit much. See that little spot highlight that we're doing here? I need to make sure that that's in a line, that goes in a pretty straight line. In general, with skin tones, I tend to start with my darkest color and work up toward my lightest as far as highlights go. And I always use layering. Maybe not on really big bust models. I might not use layering, but far too contrasted. Okay, so you probably lost your midtone. And this is what happens. It also could be that as you use a lighter paint, remember you have to thin it more. Because the more white is in a paint, the more it's going to like be really, really strong on your model, and it can overpower stuff. Whereas if you want a smooth transition, you want to keep it less. 3 colors with 5 tones? Yeah, it sounds... Usually when you get too high of a contrast, when you get up to your highlights, you want to keep those areas really small. Like on her face, it's like really, it's just this cheekbone area, that highlight on the forehead, little dots on there, which just show that she's kind of drawing her brows together. The nose, a touch on top of the chin, you know, the front of the face tends to get more highlight. But if you look on her, we've still got a lot of midtone and shadow in here. So when you notice a big contrast, usually it's because you've lost your midtone. Like you've applied your highlight and maybe the colors in between have vanished because your highlight is maybe taking up a little bit too much space. That's one common thing that happens. Even happens to me on occasion these days if I'm not watching it. I have to put my midtone back in. But your highest highlights should be pretty small, like tiny, just used to accent features really. Depending also on the scale of figure you're doing. So if you're doing a 28, that's especially true. Where do I have? Yeah, at least she's probably a better face. So like with her, and she actually needs like probably one more level of highlight. But notice I've kept the shadow on the side of the nose. Notice that the cheekbone still has a dark shadow. Notice that I'm keeping some of my midtone in here. My highest highlights are right under the eye, on top of the nose, top of the lip, forehead, and chin. And so, yeah. Got to keep... It's a common thing that happens when you're first starting with layering and highlighting, that you work your highlights up and you miss that you've overcovered your midtone. So like here, I still have some of my midtone here, and then my first highlight, and then my final highlight is just a little stripe. So it's important to keep those midtones in there, and it's so easy to lose them. So don't feel bad. Go and kind of look at it and see if that might have been the problem. But usually if your transition's is too stark, that would be the reason. It's also, I mean, doing a 5-stage highlight on skin tones is difficult when if you're newer to it. It takes some practice, so don't feel bad if the first time didn't work out great. Just now that you know that, kind of watch how your surface is. I always call it surface control, like how much of any given color is left on your surface as you work up or down. Yes, Monique is a vampire, Krios. Monique de Noir is a classic, a iconic, dare I say, Reaper vampire character. She has been around for a very long time. The original Monique art was from before I started with the company, and that was 18 years and 1 day ago. I think the first Monique model is in like the 2200s. Was a Werner sculpt. Still a great model. And then she got a 54mm version. Now she's got a chibi version. So notice how I've been shrinking my highlights here, and now it looks shiny, right? When you get that white highlight on, that's when it really, or near white, that's when it really starts. Yeah, I like it a lot. It makes her look different. I don't know why I like my greenish and purplish vampires, but I do. And it's not in general, it's not the same way that anybody else does vampire skin tones, so I feel like I'm special. I have a special skin tone for my vampires. I kind of want to do vampire bust and do this on a really big scale. I feel like it would work well. So at some point I might need to do that. Oh, got a little bit blurfy there. So notice how the tiny tip on this brush really helps get these little tiny highlights. And the other key is to not have very much paint on the brush. With a bigger brush, the danger is that you do tend to load it up with a lot of paint. And then it promptly flows onto your model in puddles. And so you have to learn to unload your brush. It's just as important as learning how to load it. A little bit of blurf there. I'm going to just take that out. So that looks very shiny, doesn't it? Shiny. Now, a lot of this, I feel like this is going to need a glaze to take it down and blend it in a little bit, maybe then a re-highlight. 2200s, I was right. Oh, Sandra Garrity, sorry. It was a very un-Sandra. She was a very tight sculpt. Werner is sculpted a couple of things for Reaper. Like, he seems to come back. Lately, we had a very long Werner-less stretch. But then I've noticed a couple of Werners that popped up in the last, like, several years with Reaper. He was doing his own thing. He has a company called Freebooter, Krios. So he may still be doing stuff on Freebooter. Or who knows, maybe he moved on and is doing something else. I have no idea if Werner's still in the hobby at this point. That's the iconic one. That's right. There's that really old one by Sandra. Right. And then the 2551 is the one I was thinking of. That is a Werner. Yeah. And then the 54mm, which I painted. I painted the version of that. There's a lot of great old Werners still in Reaper's lines. All right, there we go. So yeah, I feel like this might be a little too blue over here, although in person it's not quite as strong as it's showing up on camera. But again, that's changing the look of our skin tone a bit when we add that kind of blue hint. So yeah, and then when you're looking at further highlighting here, you look at where it kind of catches the light. So it's moving out, and then it's going to catch the light here, where it bulges out a little bit at the side of her head. So especially on this side where we've got a lot more move to it, here it's a little more flat. Here we have to look more at the shapes, see how some of these strands stick out, so they will get highlights. So you can't always like highlight both sides of the hair the same way. You have to kind of look at it and assess what the light is hitting and what's not. Just had to put a little bit more of a solid layer down on that, since I've got my black out. So on this side of the head, you can see there's that strand I just painted over it sticking out, and there's this strand that's sticking out. You see how it catches the light? So moving your model and seeing where the light falls is really useful. So I definitely will need a strand, like especially a highlight right here and right here, use your actual overhead lighting at your miniature painting station to like judge where your highlights should go. And then you can see also there's a highlight down here, right? That's because this is also projecting out into the light. So what you're aiming for is kind of like NMM. You want bands of shadow and highlight, but unlike NMM, you're going to be doing more of a bell curve, more of a centered highlight that spreads out on both sides. Hey, I'm Groening. Thank you. Yes, thank you for the belated anniversary wishes. Good night, Board Game Heaven. It was nice of you to stop in. Yes, happy Easter. Bye, Inara. Yeah, it's late. All right, Reaper, let's find us a raid. I will take up the hair again next time. Oh, what a day. Going a little late isn't bad on a Friday. Oh, Miniatures Den. Let's go say hi to Luca. All right, everybody. I hope you have a lovely holiday weekend. For those of you that get the holiday, for those that don't, just enjoy your Saturday and Sunday. And I will be back on Monday, Easter Monday. I think I'm still streaming. So I will talk to you later. Bye.